Welcome back. So the Macau Special Administrative Region has officially resumed Chinese sovereignty after the solemn handover ceremony we just saw. Now we cross over live to Jenny Lam to see how people in Macau and elsewhere are celebrating. Jenny?
Well, Diana, what was so interesting was that the moment the Portuguese flag came down, there was an applause here by the thousands of people who have gathered in the open areas of Macau. And then when the Chinese flag went up, they simply just cheered. There was this roaring of cheer all over the city. It's really rather moving. And right now, the people here at St. Paul's, the gathering here is organized by the local Protestant church, and now they're praying together for the future of Macau, hoping that the government will have the wisdom and ability to govern this enclave. And there are lots of celebratory events all over the city. There's one in Leal Senado, there's some by the harbour area, and earlier I believe there were some fireworks, although I didn't personally see those. Diana, what else have you got?
Well, we'll cross over live now to Mary Lois and see what she's seeing. Mary Lois?
Thank you, Diana. We're out here by the Casino Lisboa, which is, of course, one of the major tourist magnets in Macau. And what we have seen tonight is that people have come out onto the streets, staying out very late to soak up the festive atmosphere. Despite the fact that it's a very cold night, a lot of people have stayed out late. They brought their children out to take photographs in front of all these commemorative lights that are marking the handover ceremony tonight. And now inside the casinos themselves, I'm afraid we couldn't bring our cameras inside, but we did talk to some casino operators who told us that despite the fact that attendance was pretty much as normal today, the atmosphere inside the casinos were really very electric, the gambling crowd really quite excitable and jolly tonight because of the big occasion. Now on a more serious note, of course, the future of the casinos in Macau is a major question for post-handover Macau because it's one of the mainstays of Macau's economy. And businessman Stanley Ho has for the last 30-odd years held the sole franchise on Macau's casinos, but this is up for review in the year 2001. And the new chief executive, Edmund Ho, has indicated that he hasn't made up his mind on the matter one way or the other, despite the fact that Stanley Ho is a good friend of his and has indicated that he does wish to extend his monopoly for quite a while yet. So of course that's one of the big questions for Macau now as it enters a new era. Diana.
Mary Lois, do you expect celebrations to continue throughout the night, or are people settling down now?
Well, to be quite honest, here out on the streets outside the Lisboa, there wasn't a great uproar at midnight. I mean, people pretty much just let the moment pass as they were just walking down the street, but they have really wanted to stay out to soak up the party atmosphere. So I think that a lot of people, visitors, local people alike, will be staying out for quite a while yet, perhaps pouring into the casinos, into the hotels for a celebratory drink or something like that. Diana.
Thank you, Mary Lois. It was a night of mixed emotions for many of Macau's residents who turned out on the streets and in the bars to witness the historic moment, as Mary Lois had just said. There were cheers from some, but for others it was a more solemn moment as nearly 450 years of Portuguese rule came to an end. As you can see, there are people in the bar watching the Portuguese flag lowering, which was shown live on television, and they're watching in silence.
Hi.
Outside, the streets were jammed with people out celebrating the occasion. These were the scenes at the Leal Senado Square, one of many areas where people gathered for a night of celebration. As soon as the handover ceremony had taken place, police officers in the square began changing their badges to reflect the new administration. The old Portuguese emblems that were up at the square were then replaced. The streets are expected to be packed late into the night. And of course, the new SAR of Macau will be headed by Chief Executive Edmund Ho. Ho's selection as Macau's head half a year ago came as no surprise to Macau's political circles. The path was paved 13 years ago when he was made deputy head of Macau's Basic Law Drafting Committee and a member of China's National People's Congress Standing Committee. He was then just 30 years old. It's generally known that Edmund Ho's meteoric rise in Macau's political hierarchy has much to do with the fact that his father, Ho Yin, was Macau's de facto Chinese community leader for decades. The younger Ho has worked in Macau for more than 10 years, keeping close company with the enclave's business elite and pro-Beijing groups. Claire Penketh has this report on how Edmund Ho was chosen for Macau's top post.
任何運動咧，你知道都緊要最好 warm up 得好咧，就先至發揮得到。
Edmund Ho's favourite sport is golf.
咁一個人身體好啲，我諗對工作梗有幫助啦。我諗打唔打 golf 咧，同呢個接唔接觸群眾或者遠離群眾啊，或者會唔會係奢侈啊、高尚呢啲咧，我諗唔應該用咁嘅角度去考慮。即係澳門咁細啦，我哋做社團工作咁耐嘅，亦係不斷接觸群眾嘅。
Edmund Ho's employees and friends call him Wa Go, Brother Wa, based on his Chinese name, Ho Hao Wa. Hung in his office is this adage, can't please everyone, but my conscience is clear.
係做一件事咧，唔可能係令到每一個人都滿意，你只能夠做任何嘢咧，係按照自己做人嘅原則以澳門本身嘅利益去嚟到做一件事，咁先至可以講得到咧。 自己問心無愧。
Ho usually eats lunch in his office.
自己喺社會嘅職務又多，咁變咗啲時間都係身不由己嘅。咁有時點都一個禮拜2、3日咧，都係排到滿晒嘅。食晏我越簡單越好。係啊，日日都係有時都係喺屋企食飯時間少啊，咁啊梗係。 都少少湯水啊，起碼個人都唔使咁快殘啫。
嘿，大眾心一致，都決心致力繁榮與安寧。
我參選呢中國深圳澳門城，我個政綱呢就知難而進呢，共創新機。 咁咧，你成隻歌咧就冚唪唥唱晒出嚟，所以多謝你哋嚇。
Edmund Ho announced in April he was running for chief executive.
I choose him because I think he is more known to the outside world and he is more educated and more qualified.
His only opponent, banker Stanley Au.
There is no hostile feeling between us. It's a very fair competition.
Banking on a sure win, Edmund Ho voluntarily revealed at a news conference past contacts with the underworld.
No, I'm not part of them. Macau is such a small place. And then, if you say that, like with a small place, if I don't know any people from those triad, with a triad background, and no business relationship, well, it's really impossible. But over this like past decade, I have never linked up with the triad to work on anything that's illegal, and I'm doing anything illegal for them.
Ho also talked about his relationship with his wife.
我老婆不分咁耐冇做過1件2件對唔住老婆嘅嘢，乜絕對有。講真，佢亦好清楚。講真一句，我唔係話老實講句，講到自己好似耶穌一樣咁聖人，但係能夠一個老婆咁樣默默支持我，喺背後理解我，縱然都做咗一啲佢唔開心嘅嘢，老實講呢啲女人都好難得嘅。
Ho says he made those frank statements to clarify rumours believed to have been started by people who want a stake in gambling if and when the government opens up the franchise.
光明磊落可以講，冇一個黑社會係可以話有把柄揸住我。我將來點樣處理黑社會嘅問題呢？亦係按照法律，按照澳門人整體利益，我冇嘢怕嘅。
何口話
Edmund Ho won 163 votes, that's 80% of the selection committee.
祝贺侯寿华先生迎膺澳门特区行政长官第一任，有最大的喜事，澳门有希望。
After his selection as chief executive, Edmund Ho quit his position in his family's Daylong bank and in all the community bodies that he headed. He set up his chief executive's office in vacant premises at the bank and at another building. He's appointed his cabinet as well as executive and legislative councillors, but he himself has kept a low profile, giving no indication of his future policies. He said that's because he didn't want to create two power centres while Portugal still administered Macau. And people in Macau and elsewhere are continuing to celebrate the handover, and we cross over live now to Ray Rudowski in the square by the Leal Senado. Ray, what's happening there?
Thanks very much, Diana. It's just a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of patriotism, and a lot of good feelings here. Right now there's a cultural show that's continuing, but about half an hour ago, as the countdown began, people began to cheer spontaneously. The biggest cheers came when the PLA troops began marching up the rostrum there. When the Portuguese soldiers began marching up, the situation became almost like the situation you would see in Times Square as they begin counting down the new year. And when the flag was finally raised, the People's Republic of China flag was finally raised, the entire Leal Senado Square began cheering and clapping, and there was a real sense of optimism and hope in the audience here as the new era begins. Diana.
Thank you, Ray, and we'll take a commercial break now. Stay tuned.